Welcome to the Vantage Fit Corporate Wellness Podcast. This podcast is sponsored by Vantage Fit, the all-in-one AI-powered corporate wellness platform developed by Vantage Circle.
Welcome to the Vantage Fit Corporate Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, Parishmita. In today's episode, we will explore a crucial aspect of employee well-being and productivity, the dynamic relationship between learning and development initiatives and the ever-elusive work-life balance. So get ready to uncover the key strategies that empower organizations to create a thriving workplace where personal growth and professional fulfillment go hand in hand. To discuss how learning and development impact employee well-being and work-life balance, we have with us Omer Glass, who is the CEO and co-founder of GrowthSpace. Hello, Omer. Welcome to our show.
Thank you very much.
So I'm curious to know, how does investing in employee learning and development contribute to their overall well-being and work-life balance?
So learning and development is all about making people better at what they do. So let's say you work in sales, you work in engineering, you work in operations. If you did learning and development good, it means that you're more capable of doing your work. Now, everyone had their own goals, and one big factor of well-being is basically stress, work-life balance. So there are multiple factors. So the more competent you are, the more capable you are, it will lower the stress. It will increase your happiness because people who succeed in their roles are happier. It will build a better work-life balance. So that's basically the connection. By helping people to become better at what they do, by helping them overcome challenges in a professional way, you drive their well-being, work-life balance, you lower stress, etc.
So as the demands of modern workplace intensify, so does the risk of employee stress and burnout, necessitating urgent attention from employers. In that case, what role does continuous learning play in reducing employee stress and burnout?
Yes, I think it's similar to what I just mentioned, that what is a burnout? Okay, when do you get a burnout, right? Some people get burnout, some people do not get burnout. Let's try to understand why. So you get burned out when you're working very hard for a long time, and then it's basically too much. So then there are a psychological and well-being implications. So the continuous learning just makes sure that you bridge the gap between what you need to do and what you're capable of. And if you bridge this gap, it helps you to avoid burnout and just be happier and be more successful. So I think that's the main issue.
So can you provide examples of organizations that have, successfully integrated learning and development programs to enhance employee well-being and work-life balance?
Sure. One word about GrowthSpace, because it's important to understand what we do before we share the customer stories. So basically, we help companies to drive their business organizational KPIs by matching their people or groups with experts for development sprints. So you can think of an individual who needs to work on something very specific, and then they will be matched with an expert in this specific thing, say presentation, for example, or account-based marketing. And then they will work through a 5-session sprint on these specific items. And then after 5 sessions, we would like to see the impact. It can be also in a small group, what we call team coaching. It can be a larger group, which we call workshop or a training. And this is basically what we do. So it's a platform that enables you to scale this thing to thousands of employees. So that's what we offer to our customers. Now, a lot of times companies engage with us in order to drive their business metrics, to help sellers sell better, to help engineers to be more productive, to help people to communicate better, managers to manage better. Some of the customers are more focused on engagement, for example. Why are they focused on engagement? Because engaged employees are better employees, and engaged employees continue to work for the company and do not leave the company. So one of our customers called Cognite. We shared a case study with them that we did with the Josh Bersin company. So they wanted to drive engagement for their top talent. Now, again, engagement is the closest to well-being that we do. Again, we're not a psychologist company, we're a development company, but they wanted to invest in the top talents in order to drive their engagement in the company. So what they did is first they wanted to understand if it works. So they basically splitted the top talent into two cohorts, a test group and a control group. They gave GrowthSpace, they gave basically one-on-one sprints with GrowthSpace coaches or mentors focused on something very specific. And then they wanted to see what happens basically after 6 months. After the 6 months, they reviewed the same engagement surveys that they're doing anyway, and they saw that the fact that these people were matched with experts going through a GrowthSpace program drove their engagement into 12% versus the control group. So just one use case.
Absolutely. Like HRs and employers must recognize that addressing employee stress, burnout, or engagement is not only a moral obligation, but it is also a strategic investment in enhancing overall organizational resilience and success. So, Omar, what strategies can employers adopt to ensure learning, development opportunities that are accessible and aligned with employees' work-life balance needs?
So I think, again, the work-life balance, like you can deploy a lot of strategies to make sure you provide good work-life balance. Some of it is related to learning. A lot of it is not related to learning. For example, if you are cautious of work hours, if you're not setting meetings very late at night, we're global companies. So, we have employees in Americas and APAC, for example, or EMEA. So different time zones. So for example, if you work with a different time zone, you make sure that you're not booking times very late. So this is a practice not really related to learning that can just help you to provide better work-life balance to employees. Others will be working remotely. Remote work is great for work-life balance because you enable people to work from home at their own time. They can have dinner with their kids. They can take their kids from the kindergarten. So they can spend time with their families and focus on what matters and less on travel, and focus on work and less chatting and going to long lunch, etc. Again, not related to learning. I think in learning and development, what's related to work-life balance is, again, what I mentioned before, is if you work on productivity and you enable people to be more productive, it means they can do the same work in less time. And if they do that, they have a better work-life balance because they have more time to spend with their families.
Absolutely. So, creating a supportive work environment is crucial for nurturing employee satisfaction and, as we are talking about, work-life balance. So I would like to hear your insights on how can a culture of learning and development positively influence employee satisfaction and engagement, ultimately improving their work-life balance.
Yeah. So in order to answer this question, you need to understand what people are looking for. Now, currently, most of the workforce is millennials or Gen Y. And now each generation have different attributes. Gen Y, like their top priority is basically growing and learning and developing. So when you understand that, if you invest in people, they will stay. If you do not invest in people, they will go someplace else, because people are choosing employers not only based on salary, benefits, etc., but also about how much does this work is contributing to my growth. It's kind of like looking at employers like schools. So the more development opportunities they get, the more personalized they are, the more the higher the quality it is, people will stay in the organization. So I hope this answers your question.
Absolutely. Helps in retention also, right?
Exactly.
So moving forward, how does incorporating learning and development initiatives into a company's wellness program contribute to employee health and overall well-being?
So I would say that the health program is not directly related to learning and development. It's kind of like a byproduct of learning and development. So I would say those are two different things. You want to focus on your well-being. You have a lot of great initiatives and a lot of great suppliers to do that. You can help people with their well-being by offering them therapy. You can offer drive their well-being by giving them 4 days work week. There are multiple initiatives and different people in the organization, in the HR department handling this. Learning and development is another function in HR that's focused on making people better. Now, the nice thing about learning and development is a byproduct, because people want to grow. And if people are better with what they do, they're eventually better. Their well-being is better because you're better with your work, you're more successful, you're happier, you're less stressed because you're getting things done. So it has a byproduct, but I don't think necessarily you need to merge between the two. It's just to understand that you can do well-being programs. It's great. It's very important. Well-being is a very important issue. And then you have learning and development. Now, in learning and development, focus on learning and development. Do not focus on well-being. But if you did it right, well-being will come as a byproduct.
So coming to the end of the session, so before saying goodbye, would you like to suggest some valuable tips to our listeners and tell us where they can find you?
Sure. So I think the best tip would be to continuously look for opportunities to grow. Now, if your employees in a company, your company offers a lot of different programs. So be active and look for these programs and just ask. Just now, my friend who is a director of product in a tech company told me he approached his HR department and asked for mentoring opportunities. So sometimes the HR department has a lot of different opportunities. For example, hundreds of our customers are using GrowthSpace. So we're just one of those great learning and development opportunities. So my biggest tip is, again, focus on growth, be proactive with your growth, and actively ask for growth from your employers, because this is something companies really do. They want to invest. So go to your manager, go to the HR, ask for growth opportunities. And where to find us, we're at growthspace.com. My LinkedIn is Omer Glass, OMERGLASS. So you can look us online, and you can suggest GrowthSpace as another potential tool for your employer.
Thank you so much for your time, Omer.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to Vantage Fit Corporate Wellness Podcast. Please do subscribe to Vantage Fit Corporate Wellness Podcast on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and our YouTube channel for new episodes.